struggle. I am Vedeska here with Bueno and academics. My friends, how was Saturday for you? I was sad I wasn't in Brooklyn to celebrate with everybody else out in the streets. What were you guys doing?
Trying to think. I didn't do anything
What?
on Saturday.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
Saturday. I
Well,
was in the house. I was in the house on Saturday. I didn't really do anything on Saturday.
did you guys feel good that Joe Biden won the election, though? Do you feel a little bit relieved?
I mean, I do feel relieved that a lot of this is over because it just was giving me anxiety to just watch this every single day and not just during the whole count, not the countdown, the ballot counting, but just this whole entire year. I do feel a little bit, happy, but at the same time, like I'm reserved about my own feelings regarding the entire election and election process, and I feel like regardless to who's in office, when it comes to certain groups of people, we got to save ourselves. So, I am happy that Biden and Kamala did get elected, but at the same time, it's still tons of work to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm happy. Truth be told, I'll be happy later on. I mean, I think this is the first time we could possibly, what everybody say should be, something that could help, especially people of color. Number one, people of color put that nigga in office, okay? And when I mean nigga, I clearly mean the next president of the United States, Joseph Biden. However, also, I think there's a possibility because I've been really tuned into politics. It's a comedy show, but it's also some real shit. They could have the House and possibly they have the House and they could possibly have the Senate and the president. The next 4 years, I'm looking for results, so I'll be happy when I start seeing the results. Okay, an election don't phase a nigga like me. I've seen
Yeah,
it all before.
if they win the Senate, it'll be big. But look, it's about to be a crazy week. I think we all knew that Trump would not concede this election peacefully, but I think I expected, respected Republicans at least to stand up and congratulate Biden because it's the right thing to do. But it seems like they're not just scared of Trump; they're scared of his base. They don't want to lose their fans. They don't want to lose donors. So I think they're all just going to be kind of quiet and sheepish this week while he continues to scream election fraud, which is pretty crazy.
Right. It's
So
another
I'm
thing
gonna be honest.
too. I mean, I know that we're talking about politics and stuff. I wanted to point out that academics is pretty fancy this morning. I looked on his page last night and I seen him. He has some Dolce and Gabbana sneakers on that look like Michael Jackson's glove, along with that hoodie. Like, what was you at? You went on a date last night or something?
Did you not hear the modern day philosopher Future Vandross? Chicken wings and fries. We don't go on dates, but anyway, I will say in regards to the soon to be former president Donald Trump. Listen, number one, I do believe he lost fair and square. Number two, I do think some fishy shit still happened. You feel me? If both things could coincide, so I get he's trying to say no voter fraud, like I won. No, I think you still lost, but maybe some little fishy stuff happened. Regardless, you're getting out, bro. Just listen. You could go back to being an entertainer, and truth be told, hey, let's yo, I like having two parties, yo. You get me? Let's see what these dudes do, and
I want to see if he get locked up. That's what everybody keeps saying.
why
He
do
might
why
get
do
locked
people keep
up.
saying Donald Trump gonna get locked up?
There's a lot of different things he has on his jacket right now, but yeah.
Well, me personally, I don't believe that a former, definitely not a current sitting president, would ever be arrested. But I don't believe a former president would ever also really come under federal charges for especially anything he did in office. If they didn't get him an impeachment at that time, I think it's just going to be absolved.
That's wild.
Yeah,
Get
you
me?
think so? Because with Donald Trump, I feel like anything is possible. That's what he's
Well,
shown us.
well, the reason why I say that bigger than Donald Trump, like if shit, Obama, George Bush, at least internationally, they're all seen as war criminals. Like people, like I know we're in the United States, so we love them as our presidents.
Okay,
Like
I
they're
feel
seen
like
as war
let's getting
criminals.
into the war talk. We're talking
I'm
about like
serious.
fraud charges and all the like business corruption. War is a whole different story. I feel like we can't even jump into that conversation so lightly. But
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's in the interest of the USA to not prosecute former presidents. I just don't know why they would go after him
So you
after
just
he got
said
in
once you
office.
become a president, you just get like a play all day card, like so you could do all types of shit, like because
Yes.
presidents are human beings too, so they can do fucked up shit and
Yo,
then just be
well,
absolved.
I hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist. I believe presidents have been behind many nefarious things in U.S. history, including people getting killed, and I don't think the president getting charged at all.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I've seen all of the reporting. It's more than likely not gonna happen. But hey, we could dream, right? Because he does deserve it. But I feel like we gotta salute YG and Nipsey Hussle, though. I mean, fuck Donald Trump was very much the anthem to this whole weekend. So
Absolutely.
we needed that song. Came around full circle there. You guys watch Chappelle and SNL?
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't actually see him on SNL. I was catching up on his on the Chappelle show on Netflix. You know, for a long time I haven't seen it uncut since DVD, so I was just watching like binge watching the Chappelle show.
Well, according to his monologue, he didn't get paid for any of those streams on Netflix or HBO Max. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Um,
What? He said he
well,
didn't get paid. Netflix cut him a big ass check, $100 million check.
well, he's just talking about, I guess, the syndication. Anyway, we could talk more about that later. And on to some bad news that happened this weekend. So, of course, last week we had King Von on the show to talk about his new album, Welcome to O Block. So we were all really stunned and upset to learn that he died on Friday. He was only 26 years old. So he was shot during a brawl outside of a hookah lounge in downtown Atlanta. And according to police, the fight broke out between a group of men in a parking lot around 3 a.m. 6 people were shot and 3 of them died. So there's actually surveillance footage that surfaced. So the Atlanta Police Department have arrested a 22-year-old named Timothy Leaks, and he's been charged with felony murder. Now, Lil Durk, who's also very close with Vaughn, apparently found out about this while he was on Instagram Live. So he responded by posting an IG photo of Vaughn, and then later he turned off his account. Vaughn's label, Empire, released a statement. They said, "We are devastated by the untimely passing of King Von. He was a loving father, dedicated member of his community, and an amazing talent that just started to scratch the surface of his boundless potential." I mean, I saw you reporting about this in real time when it happened over the weekend.
Yeah. Listen, man. Uh, King Von was one of my favorite artists this year, and from every year, I have my favorites. Like those people's names are very popular, but there's always a couple rappers who are kind of coming up the ranks that I usually latch on to like their music or whatever. And sometimes, when it comes to like King Von, it was authenticity. I loved his music. I felt like again, while a lot of people gave me a little hell for it, but I felt like his way of telling a story and trying to bring you into like his experiences was really dope and unique, especially someone coming from Chicago, especially someone who, like if you look back at the history of Dirk and Keith, like the drill movement, we haven't seen that level of storytelling, at least within that subgenre. So, I really enjoyed his music. I was very pleasure to speak with him when he came on here. I had another conversation with him afterwards. I thought it was a guy who was figuring it out, and it was also realizing he was a rapper, but also, was still trying to figure out how to move, and also like figuring out what situations to probably stay out of. Unfortunately, he passed away, and that shit was super unexpected for me. So it's one of those things where like I found out honestly. I seen the news like people reporting like, hey, he was shot, and of course, like I would definitely not be irresponsible enough to just confirm that or even repost such a thing without having actual proof. And his manager called me from the hospital. His manager was also shot, and his manager literally, kind of, told me that, hey, listen, Von passed away. There's a bunch of other people, shot. There's a couple other people passed away, and again, I always look at how we could always learn from things like this. Of course, we're gonna be and we are mourning the death of King Von. He's a great musician, and from what I know, he was a good person. But from what his manager told me was he said this was it only happens in hip hop, but this was pure ignorance. It was ignorance basically collided, and when you think about things like that, we wonder how we could change these situations from happening, because I don't see like aspiring young rock stars or like other genres of entertainers, country music stars, running into each other. And even if they have a disagreement, it turning fatal. And I think that's the problem that we need to start to address. And I don't know the solution, honestly.
Well, I mean, for me, it's really crazy that it hasn't even been a week since we spoke to this kid, and he's no longer here. I'm just going back to the morning, of him coming on the show, him getting up so early, and like the whole setup before we started speaking to him. It's just like seeing it feels like surreal. Like my biggest thing with everything is this is like I'm tired of like the same old shit over and over, and I think beyond hip hop, it is just a certain type of mentality that a lot of young black men from the hood have. I mean, every time we're seeing entertainers' lives being lost, when we finding out who did it, somebody who looked just like them, and it just becomes like not that we're numb to it, but it's just disheartening. I mean, this kid had like the best week of his life and the worst week of his life all at once. You know, to see that he was rising so fast, and I want to send a special, my condolences to my man Dilla and my man Ola. They both work for OTF. They work on Dirk's team. And I seen the work that they was putting in collectively with OTF as to try to break this kid. For him to finally, put out a project after continuously putting, like, Welcome to O Block was in his first project. He put out a few of them, and then he finally caught a moment, where he's succeeding. Before he passed, like, my whole timeline was him. So it's not like, everybody was only celebrating him because he passed. But just to see that, and then see it in reverse right after, the same week his album drops, he passes away. It rubs me the wrong way, because I honestly don't feel like this type of shit will ever stop. And the reason why it won't is because the mentality, this tough guy shit. You know what I mean? Like the man just said, ignorance. And we see a lot of on social media, different artists who have problems antagonizing situations between each other. And I don't know, I've never managed an artist or worked with an artist that had a public problem with another artist that they were going back and forth. But I wonder how much of prevention is really going into this type of shit. It's sad to just see beyond a artist, another young black man lose his life. You know, I'm tired of that shit, yo. I'm tired of it for real. Cause it was happening when I was a kid. I mean, King Vaughn was the same age as Biggie when or Pac, I believe, when Pac died. You know what I'm saying? And not comparing the two, but it's just that shit happened when I was 13. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is happening now when I'm 37. So it's like, it's just saddening and disgusting to see. That's all I can say.
Well, condolences to his friends and family. It feels like, how we felt when we lost Pop Smoke earlier in the year, and I think we all feel the same. Like, this is a conversation and moments that we don't want to keep reliving. It's like talent and lives taken way too young. But all of our love to all of his people. We know they're having a really difficult time right now.
Oh
I'm
wait, wait.
just
I also just want to say, yo, yeah, I send so many prayers and just the utmost condolence to Lil Durk. If you are familiar with Lil Durk's career, man, man, he's lost everybody. Like him coming up through the industry, like before he even bubbled to the mainstream stage, he lost his manager who got gunned down in Chicago. People said that he was actually supposedly the target. He lost his cousin who got killed at the mall. Rest in peace, Newski. You know, he's lost other people, but also to lose Vaughn when he's finally turned, he's turned it around and he's having success of his own. And he could have just said, yo, I'm doing good for myself. I just had a song with Drake. But no, he's trying to put on the same people from, where he's from and give them opportunities. Again, King Von said on here, but he also said when I had my conversation with him, he said, yo, he was talking about how, you know, Dirk helped him with the music, and Dirk, like his first song, him, Dirk, Buka, they went down like in the basement or whatever, and Dirk kind of taught him a few things, like, yo, this is how you make music. You get me? And just to see, like, so much devastation constantly happen, you know, to people that Dirk loves. Like, I see sometimes social media they don't really understand it. I see some people like, oh, Dirk is man. Could you imagine how he's feeling? You know, how could you imagine like how some of the people who have grown up with this guy for all their life are feeling? So again, just rest in peace to King Von, and I just send my prayers to Dirk. I know he's going through a tough time. He got off Instagram yesterday, and obviously he needs to mourn personally before he could be looked at by the world and judged for every move. You get me?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always really hard and just weird having to talk about losing someone and then just carrying on to talk about other music. It seems so just insignificant, but I guess we will try our best now. So, producer Taz Taylor started an interesting thread on Twitter recently about how he feels like a lot of upcoming artists don't get a fair chance in the industry because they sound too much like other rappers. So, he went on to say that when he started submitting Juice WRLD's music to labels, he got rejected a lot because people thought that Juice WRLD was replicating Lil Uzi Vert's sound. He said to stop putting new artists in a box. The same artist y'all stand, they used to say was a clone of somebody else. And he says this happens with labels and also with fans. So he went on to say, I can sit here and talk about all the major artists people tried to shit on and how they became something. Imagine the ones who could be here doing crazy shit, but no one was told, but was told no because they sound too much like Thug or Keed or Uzi, etc. How big of a challenge do you think that this is for upcoming artists?
I mean, that sounds like something that's always been going on. The thing is that when Uzi came about, uh he kind of had his own, like he did definitely had his own wave, but what a lot of young kids do is that they try to replicate or get as close to whatever the new sound is that could potentially get them on. Now I think that Juice World, by before his passing, he found his own lane where he was the only person sitting there. But yeah, I mean, I can see that, potentially happening from an executive standpoint. There's tons of artists that get sent in and people pass on. I mean, like shit, we all hear about Drake's story with Sylvia Rome and her passing on him. You know what I mean? Or Akon saying that he had Drake and people, or he could have signed Drake, but he said he sounded like Eminem. These are things that just happen. I mean, for young up and coming artists, I hope that they don't get discouraged by that. But yeah, like there are tons of artists who sound alike. You just got to have something very distinctive if you want to get on.
Yeah, he definitely mentioned, Young Thug when he first came on, people comparing him to Wayne, but clearly Young Thug is doing his own thing right now. And I don't think that's a conversation people have anymore.
Yeah, well, this is music, and music is usually generally derived from inspiration. The great Quincy Jones once said, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't know the exact quote, but it definitely had the sentiment to say, most of the greats copied until they found their own style. You get me? And it's basically it's just a thought of, hey, listen, when you're inspired by whatever or whatever sound, sometimes you try to imitate it. And again, you're not trying to replace that person, but sometimes it takes a while, especially we're dealing with young artists. Like, how young was Juice WRLD? How young was Uzi when he came in the game? So these guys, they're learning on the job type of thing. You get me? And I don't personally, I'm not gonna lie, as a fan, sometimes you do not, when you say, for example, you love Uzi. I remember me and Trippy, we got into it a little bit because of this, right? This is before I got to know Trippy. Trippy's my guy now. And I remember like doing like a YouTube video, and I was trying to explain to them who Trippy was and like what his style was. And I was like, basically, he's like a Uzi clone. And he took super offense to that, right? Because of course he was getting comparisons to Uzi. But for him, he was at least at that point, he thought he was differentiating himself and making his own lane. Now, if you ask like, anyone who listens to more than 5 songs of both, you wouldn't even say, you wouldn't even think about Trippy being a clone of Uzi. Trippy's just carved out a whole lane for himself, which I
Well,
get.
bro.
I think I think when we think about, like, say for example, Juice WRLD, um, people are hesitant in taking a chance, and I could imagine saying A&R. I'll be hesitant taking a chance on someone who I feel they're just watching and copying someone else's blueprint rather than actually being able to do the blueprint
Ack, you
themselves.
being a little bit nice right now, because I feel like, come on, Ack, we all know that there are at least 5 or 6 top artists that all have sons right now. You know what I mean? They all have sons. Like, come on, like all these niggas in
Okay.
this era
Yeah.
is real sons of Lil Wayne. Like, let's keep it a buck. Like, Lil Wayne at the height of his career got a lip ring. Nobody
I
was
hold on.
doing that shit
Hold on.
before Lil Wayne.
Sons,
Son,
sons, or no, no, I agree with that. I
or
agree with
or,
that.
or fruit off of his tree, straight
Okay.
up, fruit off
Future
of
got
his
a bunch
tree.
of kids. Wayne,
Future,
no, Wayne got a bunch of
Wayne,
kids.
Thug,
Uh, um, Thug got a bunch of kids. Here's the
Drake.
thing, though. It's a difference between being like, okay, your style, your whatever is inspired by, and it's a difference with copying.
Yeah, it is. It's
Copying is
different.
like, yo, when I hear copying, I almost don't give that person any type of credit for their own artistic integrity or creativity. I look at them as just trying to be someone that they're not. You get me? And those people would usually fizzle out. I'm trying to think of the name. I don't think it's Gorilla Zoe. Who was the guy who
Gorilla
sounded
Zoe, not the Gorilla Zoe.
what?
Gorilla Black, the one that sounded like
Yeah,
Biggie.
he
But
sounded like Biggie.
yeah, but he
Again,
looked like Biggie
again.
too. He was big and black too. He looked
All right,
like
all
Biggie and
right,
he sounded like Biggie.
all right. But if I asked you in hindsight, would you say he was copying him, or you
Absolutely, he
think
was
he was
copying him. The
inspired?
fuck is crazy? He
Okay,
was,
all right.
no. Now Sean wasn't. See, everybody used to say that Sean was like, because but you know before we would hear artists before we saw him, so it's like
Mm-hmm.
when we didn't know what Sean looked like, we all thought that he was a big dude, right? We thought he was on Bad Boy and he had the voice something sound like Biggie. But Sean carved his own lane or whatever. But Gorilla Zoe was absolutely no Gorilla Black. I'm sorry, I keep fucking up the names. Gorilla. He was absolutely a clone of Biggie. Like, stop it. Like, we know that's a fact. Like,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
he had a good
that's
song
not a
too.
son of Biggie. That's not a son of Biggie. That's like just imitating. That's like straight copy.
But I think that a lot of these
yo,
niggas do
it's
still
hard to
imitate
give it.
though. They still do imitate. Like, come on. Like they still do imitate. I mean, look, and I think that now it's not that they just imitate one person. They just imitate like different things from each other. Like it's the style. It's like Uzi started wearing crazy. Well, Thug was wearing crazy shit. Then everybody wore crazy shit. Everybody was like, oh, this nigga's a gangster and he's wearing all dresses and shit. Well, I'm gonna wear a leotard. I'm gonna wear like people literally copied shit or they took little pieces and tried to put on it themselves. Like, but I think they still. You don't think Trippy copied nobody? Like just certain. I don't think his music style, but just
Yeah, no. He
style
definitely, yeah. But I think he developed into just kind of having his own unique thing. Here's the thing, though. I think what Taz is saying has been true and probably was true for Juice WRLD at the time. Number one, Juice WRLD did get signed and became this, great superstar, God rest his soul. But still, here's the thing. I think these days is probably quite the opposite, though. Like, for example, Juice WRLD dies. Like, no disrespect to the Kid Laroi, but the Kid Laroi is someone who reminds you of channeling the same kind of presence or energy that Juice WRLD did. If you're gonna tell me that didn't help him get signed, that's not gonna prevent him from getting signed. We want, like, if we see, for example, you think labels ain't looking in Brooklyn like, yo, who the next Pop Smoke?
Nigga, but this
look at this dude.
Look, but this is what I was about to say. Bro, listen. Everybody in New York song sound like some sort of derivation of a Pop Smoke song. Like almost everybody in New York. Everybody in New York almost has the same exact beat. Almost everybody. You know what I mean? So it's like,
gotta
yeah,
drive
like,
a little bit more.
Niggas copy. I mean, there's inspiration. You know how they say the best form of flattery is imitation and some shit. No, that's fucking biting. Like some niggas is just
imitation is the best
form of flattery. That's a lie. That shit is just biting. Like some people is just biters. Like that's all it is.
So are we saying there's room to sound a little bit like an artist to get on, but then you probably have to find your own sound? Or like what's, how much are you allowed to copy then? Because we're trying to define the difference between someone's son and clone, which I never thought we would do in rap.
I mean, we ain't the police, but niggas do what they want. Like they that's what I'm saying. We can't police it, but like, listen, every day I get at least an email with like 10 or let's say 5 new artists and like, most of them sound like somebody else. You just gotta pick the one you like the best, and then hope that they can carry on something else with their shit. You know,
the greats eventually develop into their own unique self. The ones who ain't talented just always copy. But I do believe these days is probably the easiest. So not to like just say what Taz is saying ain't true, but like I think the easiest way to get on now is copying somebody who's already doing their thing. Like just think about Just think about whoever is successful. Like, for example, even with like Nicki Minaj, like shit, they were trying to create female rappers to copy her. Like, just copy whatever she does.
Hey.
Like, let's do the Barbie thing. Let's do colorful things. Let's change voices, colorful wigs, copy her. And we just need, like, again, it's market share, at least for labels. I don't think they're like, yo, there could only be one Uzi. No, if Atlantic got an Uzi, you think like Sony ain't saying, no, we want an Uzi too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one person we can't leave out of this conversation as being copied is Gucci Mane, because that nigga has 100 people that sound exactly like him. It's too many to count. It's like this. Sometimes I be listening, I be like, oh, this is disgusting. Like niggas sound exactly like all they gotta do is say Gucci, and I would think it's Gucci, bro.
Yeah, I say bird, but I would say inspired in that case.
Come on, man. No, it's a difference between inspiration and having an exact. Like Gucci flow was so distinctive, bro. You mean to tell me that you'll never turn on a nigga and be like, oh nah, this is crazy? Like he's OD biting like
I mean,
inspiration is biting is I don't know. I think it's one of the same, man. It might be
wait,
one of the
are you
fucking
saying
same.
are you saying to the point of like, remember when the Migos came up with the I always call it the flow. You feel me? Like
Yeah.
like niggas was a straight copy now. They would probably listen to a Migos song and they would go in the booth and just do the same flow. Like
Yeah,
they would
I mean,
pretty
but
much do
niggas
the
was doing that
remix
with
of
ASAP
their song.
Rocky too. ASAP Rocky, I think ASAP Rocky had a flow that everybody copied. I feel like Wiz Khalifa had. That's another one. We don't talk about Wiz. Wiz is another nigga that had a flow that everybody was copying. It was one point in time where like, yeah, I mean, I think that now it's just at a point where
Ludacris,
you said what
Ludacris.
had a flow that people was copying. Oh, you do with the
Yeah,
Big Sean
nigga.
shit.
Yeah, Big Sean took that and then Drake took it.
I mean, I don't know.
Nah,
I feel like I know. You know why? The only reason why I mean Drake did like he never admitted to that, right?
I mean, Fabulous kind of does it. Her feet are killing her. Suicide. Like,
No, but Fab.
Come
Nigga,
on, bro.
first of all, you saying her feet are killing her suicide? That was in 2009. Secondly, Fab has a 20-year career. You know any niggas copy him?
I know, but like Fab's punchlines ain't always been like that. You feel me?
I mean, listen.
I'm at the parade, Macy's. Like, come on, man. Like they copy that a bit.
I mean, yo.
All right.
Fuck it. Niggas is just sounding like everybody.
You guys shared a lot of good thoughts on it. I appreciate it. All right, so a couple quick things before we go then. Chris Brown and Drake may or may not have a project coming. So during an interview with Fat Joe recently, Chris Brown seemed to tease something. We don't know exactly what. He says, we got some songs, definitely have some songs, and it's definitely going to be something we're working on that's going to be crazy. Would the world be ready for a Chris Brown and Drake EP project something? Probably not 25 to 45
Drake is gonna be the first person. I think he's gonna have like. There's not that many artists that have albums with other artists, right? He might end up having the most. Wait, what he has? He just has. No, he only has one, right? Is it one with him in Future? I'm bugging.
I think so, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he only has one with Future.
But everybody, you know what's crazy? Every time somebody do records with Drake, they always say that they got like an album's worth of material with him. I'm pretty sure that they have an album's worth of material together, but I would rather just see them just drop songs together, and, like every now and then for them to do a whole album.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think they should just drop songs instead of thinking about album, tour, this and third. I think there was a period of time. You remember after the Deuces remix came out, and before they were in like that famous brawl, supposedly with Rihanna. You know what I mean? And they didn't talk for a while. I feel like both of them, their career was like. Think about where Jay-Z was when he did the Best of Both Worlds tour with and maybe even then that was a little bit late. I know that was a disaster. I know that was a disaster. I get it with R. Kelly, but still, like I feel like earlier this decade or earlier last decade, like in the early 2010s, we wanted that. Like 2012 to 2015,
yeah.
I just don't know, like. Do I sound crazy if I say I just don't know that the heights? I don't even know if I want to say it. T Breezy gonna kill me. The heights that I don't think they're matching anymore. There used to be a point where they used to be matching.
Roll. See, here he goes.
I'm being honest.
Slow your roll.
I'm being honest.
You mean to tell me that you telling me that there's a point? You basically saying right now that Chris Brown, no, Drake is at a level that Chris Brown ain't.
Drake has eclipsed his peers and stood out so far that I feel like while Chris Brown is a legend, I don't think this is the apex of his career.
Academics.
And I still think we could argue that this is an apex of Drake's career.
Academics. Yeah, when we talking about rappers, yeah, Drake has eclipsed everybody. You talking about R&B singers, bro? I feel like Chris Brown is.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
What?
All right, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think people and we should do a vote. I don't know if this is possible on our socials. Let's do a vote. I say people want Drake and The Weeknd to do a collab album way more than Drake and Chris Brown.
Yeah, but that's not what we were.
But why did you throw in something that's not even
what the fuck are
in
you
the
talking
realm of
about?
possibility?
What are you talking about?
Wait. Hold on. The
What?
reason why I say that is that, like, this ain't something we really want no more. Like, this ain't, like, I get what Chris Brown's saying, but the reason why I'm saying, like, yo, yeah, drop a couple songs. We don't need a full project. We don't really want this shit no more. Like, if it was something coveted, because I'm saying Drake's at the top of his craft, and I was saying they don't match anymore, so it's like, okay. It's like
They don't
Drake
match
saying
anymore.
They don't match. It would
Well,
be
wait,
it
hold
would
on,
be a
hold on,
better
hold
match.
on.
Chris
You're
Brown,
talking about in
man.
terms of like accolades or music making capabilities? Because Chris Brown
No,
still make hits, and also, why would the poll just be like, "Do you want this Chris Brown and Drake album? Yes or no?" How did the weekend get involved? That doesn't
Yeah, what
seem
are you
like it's
talking
ever gonna
about?
happen.
hold on. What the reason why I mentioned like that, because first of all, we're still talking hypothetical. I know Chris Brown basically acted like we were still talking about hypothetical.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is that, like, if we had to think about, like, there was a time that they were the two leading people in their own field. R&B, it was clearly Chris Brown, and obviously rap, it was Drake. I feel like these days, I feel like it's The Weeknd, and I feel like it's still Drake. So I think if we're just like putting anything on paper, we're fantasy footballing it out. That's what people want to see. Like, I feel like this is just a little too late. That's why I just want him to drop songs. I love Breezy though. Don't make it seem like I'm dissing no Breezy.
All right, we gotta end the
No,
show
it's
now,
not.
man.
I know. Well, at least you guys agreed. He just threw in a variable that was never on the table. So
He
that's
always
all
come with
I
some
love.
shit that he said. I was like, what the fuck? Where that came from?
All right, hold on. Hold on.
Wait. No one's disagreeing with you. We would all love a Drake and Weeknd project. It just doesn't seem possible.
Okay, let me add a little bit more context to it.
In like a minute or less.
Who would y'all think when Drake did that joint tape with Future?
Mm-hmm.
It was clear that Future had a lane and he was dominating so crazy. It made sense, even though people were looking at it, whatever, it made sense. I just don't think it makes sense for Drake and Chris Brown to do a whole tape, even though I love that song, No Guidance. It just doesn't make sense. I think Drake would be better served doing it.
Shit, I would think that Certified Lover, it would be called Certified Lover Boy before it would be Certified Lover Boy would be Drake's album name. Like that's for them two. Like, come on, them two together, bro. Like, we talking about Chris Brown. Man, Chris Brown don't get enough credit anyway, man.
Yeah,
No, it's not
I
just
mean,
nostalgia. It's not just nostalgia, man. Come on, Chris Brown, one of the
Nostalgia.
greatest to ever do this shit ever.
This is funny.
Facts,
Well,
100%.
Drake also apparently says that he thinks people are gonna hate Certified Lover Boy the way that they apparently hated Views. But anyway, I think Wayno actually agreed with you, so maybe we could pose this question to our viewers on Twitter.
Yeah,
do you guys want this Chris Brown and Drake project or not? I think Roger will set up a poll for you guys. In the meantime, we gotta go. Thank you guys for watching Everyday Struggle. We'll see you here tomorrow on Complex.